Dream Queen, Season 2, Episode 7, The Hand, and I was definitely looking forward to this episode. I've really enjoyed the season so far. We only have 4 episodes left, believe it or not, which is pretty crazy. Now, this episode, I thought was a really great episode, but I will admit, I wouldn't say it was filler, but it definitely was a smaller type episode. For some reason, Zayday and Chamberlain were nowhere to be found in this episode. Dean Munch was in this episode, but she wasn't like a huge part of it. This episode mainly focuses on Dr. Holt and Cassidy and their problems that they're going through and the struggles that they have to overcome and the secrets that they're withholding and things like that, which I thought was really well done. But I do think that we could have definitely had a Chamberlain or Zayday, especially when you have 10 episodes. You kind of need to have most of the ensemble in there. But let's just get in this episode because I still really enjoy. I thought there was some really great stuff. I love the beginning, especially with us seeing this whole monologue where Dr. Holt's talking about how he's so stressed out because what's going on, and now that he's been accused, he's even more stressed out, and we find out that the more stressed out he gets, the more stressed out the hand gets, and when the hand gets stressed out, the hand starts to become more in control. The hand's now talking to him, it's like waking him up, it's like developing its own personality. It's really weird, but again, I think Scream Queens is really benefiting from ridiculous stuff, and this was actually pretty funny to see. I don't know if John Stamos is providing the voice of the hand, but it's really funny to see the hand like wake him up and like whack him in the face and things like that. I definitely thought was pretty funny to see. I definitely really did enjoy that overall. But I thought the overall was a pretty good start, just showing us, what exactly it is that Dr. Holt is going through. And we see that he is about to have a date with Chanel, because Chanel shows up and everything. And we see that everything, seems to be going okay between the two, but the hand ends up putting too much salt into the pasta, and when Chanel takes a bite of the pasta, she obviously thinks it's too salty, and then he straight up tries to murder her. She ends things right then and there, and right again, that is another result of the hand. I thought that was a pretty good start, just showing what he's going through, showing that he's really not in control of this anymore, and I thought definitely was pretty interesting to see. So definitely a very weird start, but a very fun start. And again, this is a very suspend your disbelief season, and that whole beginning scene I think perfectly shows why. So the Cure Institute is a new patient named Anna. She was born with an extra set of arms and legs, and doctors believe it's the result of an underdeveloped conjoined twin. And one of her sets of arms and legs is actually a man's hand, which was pretty funny to see. But removing a parasitic twin is a very difficult procedure, which is why Anna came to the hospital. She believes that Holt is the best, which, we were introduced to him, that he was, in fact, the best. And basically, little does she know, as we know, Holt is having more and more time controlling his homicidal hand, and he doesn't think that surgery is the best option right now, since Anna has all sorts of, extra pants inside her body, as well as outside. It's just not, he doesn't think he's the best one to do, because again, he doesn't really know what the hand is thinking, but Munch wants some positive publicity, and she's already called an editor of the prestigious medical journal to cover the procedure, so he really has no choice but to perform this procedure, even if he can't really do it, which I thought was very interesting to see. Again, just seeing what's going on there, I definitely thought was interesting to see. So, number 3 has been doing some research to figure out why Cassie believes that he's dead, because she doesn't fully understand it, and the closest medical explanation she can find is Cotard's delusion. Again, this is a legit disease where people who suffer from the affliction believe that they're dead or that they don't exist at all. So she seems to think that he has Cotard's because he seems completely fine, other than the fact that his skin is cold, and it's a traumatic brain injury can be one of the causes, but Cassidy doesn't believe that he has it since he's had multiple MRIs and there's no sign of really anything wrong, so he's convinced that he is in fact dead. And number 3 wants Cassidy to take a psych test, see if there are any tendencies that would make Cotard's a likely disease, and I thought it was a pretty funny scene with him seeing all those dead people and not knowing who they were, but there technically isn't a test for the condition, so number 3 made one up herself, and the results indicate that Cassidy is indeed suffering from Cotard's, and he learns that he actually isn't really dead, we find out, which that was very interesting to see, that he actually isn't dead. He wonders why he's always so cold, and number 3 points out that people can develop psychosomatic symptoms of a disease if they truly believe that they have it. Kind of like a hypochondriac, how they always believe there's something wrong with them. That's kind of like what this is. His skin is just cold because he believes it. Also, he sleeps in a waterbed next to a giant air conditioner, so that's another reason why he can be cold. But Number 3 didn't give Cassie all the news. According to her test, he's actually also read to be a psychopath. And even though the Chanels seem doomed when it comes to love, number 5 is excited at the prospect of things going back to normal once number 3 turns Cassidy into the police. Because again, she doesn't know, she doesn't know if, Cassidy, she knows that Cassidy is in fact a murderer and everything, but number 3 isn't sure she wants to expose Cassidy. So I thought it was interesting that already they know that Cassidy is in fact one of the Green Meanies, and she's tired of doing things for the greater good at the expense of her own happiness. She wants to keep Cassie because Cassie's someone that she truly cares about, and I think Cassie truly does care about her. I've actually really liked their relationship. I think they've handled it really well, and it's given number 3 just a lot more to do this season. That's something that I've definitely really enjoyed, so I'm hoping that things stay good between them, which we'll get into definitely, but I did like the way that was done. I like seeing the Chanels tell her what to do, and I thought overall it was definitely interesting to see. So, Holt is trying to remove the appendage from his hand because he's tired of the hand telling him what to do, but before he can, he's actually attacked by the Green Meanie. As Homicide Hand's able to fight off the killer, which, that was a pretty cool scene, seeing him being able to fight the killer like that. But the Green Meanie just straight up runs off. Like, that was definitely very interesting to see, the way that was done. But definitely pretty funny scene. And again, I like that the hand's developing its own sort of personality. It's very interesting to see. But we see that Cassie is a new patient named Thomas Benderhale, who his face is covered with acne-like scars. And it's not just Thomas's skin, he's also got nausea, abdominal pain, and projectile vomiting. And Thomas's girlfriend Shelly is frantic to figure out what's wrong, telling Cassidy and number 3 that Thomas is her everything, and Cassidy promises to find out what's wrong, and then they're gonna cure him. So Chanel confides in her minions that Holt tried to kill her over romantic dinner, but that she's willing to give him another chance because he promised that figuring out a way to not murder her is going to be his top priority. And right now, she seems to believe him. And I believe Holt too. I think he genuinely does like Chanel. I think he really does want to keep her, and I don't think that he has any intention to kill her. And number 5 warns her that she's in danger, but Chanel doesn't think that number 5 can possibly understand since she never had a boyfriend. And I did like the scene where number 5 is reminding him about Tyler. I mean, I remembered about Tyler. I like that they said that no one really remembers, but I definitely did remember. But with all the weird stuff that happens, number 3 says she truly forgot all about him. And Hester says that even though she knows who the killer is, but refuses to tell them, Chanel can feel pretty comfortable about dating Holt. He may have a psycho killer's hand, but she doesn't believe that Holt is the Green Meanie type. He doesn't seem like one who would go out and murder people, and I would agree with that. It does not seem like Holt, again, has a thirst for killing. He doesn't really seem like someone who I could see being a killer, and he just doesn't really seem like that kind of person. So they feel like she should keep Holt, and I definitely agree with that. But Nurse Harvel's then ready to put another plan in place to kill Chanel. She plans to annoy Holt since she knows that his hand wants to kill Chanel as much as she does, and the more that Holt loses control of it, the more stressed out he gets. Which again, this is very good psychological manipulation. Again, I'm loving everything about Nurse Hovel. I love the way that she goes about plans, and I love the way that she's like this master manipulator that's figuring everything out. I really do love that about her right now, and just, it's such great psychological mind play. But Cassie's feeling a bit guilty for murdering so many people we see. We see he really is not okay with it, and Hovel clarifies that Chanel is the bitch that burned her sister's face off, and basically Hovel wants Holt's password, and Cassidy tells her it's "I went to Harvard." How he knew that, I don't know. I guess he told him, but Hovel plans to take out Chanel first, and then pick the others off, starting with number 3, and Hovel finds the whole earmuff thing incredibly obnoxious, which I think everyone said that since day one, but Cassie insists that he won't kill number 3, obviously because he loves her, but Hovel says if he doesn't, she will in fact turn him in. So he really has no choice but to listen to her. It's a very tough decision that he struggles with throughout the rest of this episode, and probably throughout the rest of the duration of the season. So Munch introduces Holt to Slade Hornborn, who was a reporter doing a piece on him for the Northeast Journal of Medicine, and Munch wants Holt to give Slade an overview of the surgery on Anna, but Holt announces that Anna's heart's like way too weak, that there's no way that she's going to survive, and Munch is determined to move forward though, because since we see that Anna's cardiac issues will kill her in 5 years anyway, and Holt will do a heart transplant in addition to removing the parasitic twin, and it'll go down as the most spectacular surgery in modern medical history. So she has this all figured out. thinks this is gonna go like really well, but again, as we know, his hand has a mind of its own, and he's starting to lose control. But he questions where Munch plans to get the heart, since people sit on transplant lists for years. So she assures him that she'll figure it out, and really, I don't think she really has this that well thought out. This is kind of something she did just to garner publicity, and I think just to get people in the right spirits for the hospital, because we know the hospital is very controversial right now. But Cassie figures out that Thomas is suffering from dioxin poisoning. He has to be isolated, but Shelly refused to leave her boyfriend's side. Cassie tells Chanel that he doesn't understand why Shelly would put her own health at risk, and she responds that maybe that's because he hasn't felt the warm embrace of real love. And number 3 reveals that she knows that Cassie's a Green Meanie, and I like that she straight up told him this. Like, she didn't try to hide it, and she says she's in love with him anyway. She doesn't really care, and Cassie confesses that he only plans to kill Chanel, Chanel sparing number 3's life, and he only really plans on killing Chanel, because Chanel's really not someone he has any relationship with. He's not really close to her, so he doesn't really care if he kills her, and number 3 is determined to save Chanel and help Cassie become a better person, which means that he has to stop murdering people, and her plan is to figure out how Thomas is being poisoned, because she needs to figure that out. So Cassie goes by the Benderall home to try and figure out how Thomas is being poisoned. He's a lawyer and primary breadwinner, while Shelly works at Nice Guy Chemicals, and the company mainly develops dioxin, meaning Shelly would have as much access to it as she wants, and Cassie believes that Shelly's making Thomas sick on purpose so she can get sympathy for taking care of him, and she swears she would never hurt her boyfriend, so it's kind of like a misery sort of situation, which Shelly is pretty crazy, definitely will say. Like, what we saw of her in this episode, she was kind of a crazy, very much like one of those like very needy girls, and we actually find out in this twist that Thomas actually has been poisoning himself because Shelly was driving him insane. So he basically did it to get away from her, which I really don't blame about. I mean, she was kind of crazy, but number 3 is very disappointed by the news. She decided to not turn Cassidy in because she believed in true love, but now she's not so sure. I mean, the fact that he completely is isolating himself just to get away from her, and Cassie replies that he may just have to kill her before she tells the police, and I like the way they went through this conflict because, yeah, it really does change things up. You know, she thought that Cassie loved her, but now she's not really sure, and I understand really where she's come from there, so that was actually very interesting to see. And again, like I said, this is a very big struggle that we're seeing here. You know, these are two people who should be together, but at the same time, they're starting to realize why they shouldn't be, and I think overall it's a very interesting conflict. So once again, we see Chanel number 10 becomes a Green Meanies' latest victim. They're really not focusing on these Chanels a ton, but the killer doesn't finish the job. She's actually brain dead, which means her heart can be harvested for Anna. I thought she was going to go in the cryogenic chamber again, just like Denise did, but no, she is in fact the heart that they're going to use for Anna. So Holt tells Munch that he's caving under the pressure of having to perform this high-profile surgery. She needs to call it off so he can get back to trying to control his hand, because again, he doesn't really have any control. And Munch threatens to destroy Holt's career if he doesn't do his job, and Holt decides he really has no other choice but to perform the surgery with one hand tied behind his back. And this whole scene was actually really cool the way it was done, because you don't really know if this is really going to work. I mean, even though he has his hand tied behind his back, you don't know if it's really going to work, and he almost cracks under the pressure. But we see the only thing that seems to save him is the Chanel singing 99 Luftballons, which of course we know is the song that was playing when his hand got injured in the first place, so I thought that was kind of funny to see. And the scene where he actually did perform the surgery, he actually is successful, he saves her life, and it was actually a pretty well done scene. I actually did feel suspense there. It was funny, but I felt suspense, and I definitely think he did a pretty good job building suspense with that scene. But Cassie then apologized for threatening to kill number 3, promises that he won't kill her or Chanel, so if they die, it isn't him, and, because they might die, but I like that he told her that's not going to be on him. So number 3 wants to know who would kill her, and Chanel if he didn't, and Cassie reveals that he's not the only killer, but of course he can't tell her who else is. You know, he's not going to destroy his allegiance with Hoffel. He just let her be a Green Meanie. He's not going to salvage that, but he's going to do his best to make sure everything turns out okay. And Slade then calls his editor to report the long list of ethical violations he's witnessed in the past 2 days. He encouraged the person on the phone to come to cure immediately, and unfortunately Green Meanie just stabs him the man in the back, which that kind of pissed me off. I actually was kind of looking forward to maybe seeing Slade try to upend the hospital and try to close it down, because I thought that's really where we were headed. But no, he was killed immediately, and I thought that was kind of an easy way out of just, not doing something with a character that they could have done something with. It just seemed like he was there just so they they had a death, but that was definitely very weird to see. But I did like the ending of this episode. We see Cassidy offers to replace Holt's killer hand with one of Anna's, but even after the surgery, it appears that even after it, Holt still is determined to murder Chanel for some reason. For some reason, this hand has some sort of thing that wants to murder Chanel. So he did, in fact, get his hand replaced, but we don't really know how that's going to go, if he is going to get his hand replaced, if that's really going to work out. But that is the way the episode ends. Really good stuff overall. Let's just get into this episode and where I think we're going to go in the last three. So overall, don't really have a ton to say about this episode. I really did like seeing the more in-depth focus on Holt's hand, seeing that he can't really control it. And why does his hand want to kill Chanel so badly? What's really going on with that? I'm worried that there is going to be a killing in direct result of that hand. I don't know if the hand is the third Green Meanie, because we know there is a third Green Meanie out there. But the fact that we focus so much on it, I'm starting to think that might be the case. But again, I don't really know what's going to happen with that. So that definitely is going to be very interesting. And will Holt be able to get the hand transplant? Because we've seen before, when he's tried to cut off the hand, it doesn't seem to work out. Like, the hand seems to have the upper hand against him, I guess. But yeah, unintentional pun, didn't mean to say that, but either way, I don't really know where that's going to go. We'll have to see. As far as Cassidy number 3, I like where this is going. I like that these two know what they're up to. I like that she knows that he is the Green Meanie, but she still is going to be with him for that. Like, she doesn't really care. She's going to embrace the fact that he is a Green Meanie, and I hope that he does keep that promise to her. But we know that Hoffel wants the Chanel's dead, so I'm pretty sure that Hoffel is going to kill someone very soon. I don't know who it's going to be, but definitely someone is going to get killed, and we'll have to see what's going to happen with that. I see number 5 probably being the one to get killed, but again, I don't really know. All the Chanels are being killed left and right, like the ones that don't really matter to us. I don't really like the fact that they did, in fact, kill Chanel number 10, but Slade was the one that definitely did get to me. I think Slade, they could have done a lot more with this character. I don't know why they killed him off so abruptly, but for some reason they did. Kind of a weird decision to do. I don't really know why that had to happen, but either way, we'll have to see where that's going to go. And I definitely did feel the void of Zayday and Chamberlain. It just felt like not as much was going on this episode. Like, we had the stuff with Holt, we had the stuff with Cassidy, but we didn't have anything really going on besides that. It was just kind of weird overall. There's been so much going on this season. It was definitely strange to not have as much happening, because really, I just felt like at the end of the day, even though I did enjoy this episode, because I did enjoy it for the most part, I thought it was a very fun, entertaining episode, especially John Stamos. Definitely was a lot of fun to watch here. I just thought in general there really wasn't too much going on in this one, and because of that, I just don't really have a ton to say, unfortunately. I really, except for a couple of things, I don't really have much else to say about this episode. But let me know what you guys saw this episode. Love your thoughts on it. Sorry I didn't have as much to say. There just wasn't really a ton going on here. I did think it was pretty funny what was going on with Shelly. I mean, I did like that for the first time. Neither Thomas nor Anna were killed. Because it seems like every episode they kill the patients, and they actually didn't do that here. So I was happy to see that they were, in fact, saved. They weren't killed, and I thought overall that was definitely interesting to see. And I did like the continuity with number 5 talking about Tyler, because yeah, he definitely was essential in her life. And Hester does know who the killers, but for some reason she's not telling them. Again, I feel like she's definitely very much involved with what's going on. We still don't really know what stake she has in this, but all the way back to the 4th episode, I still think there's something going on there, but we'll have to see. But that's my review. Hope you're enjoying it. Let me know what you guys saw this episode. Love your thoughts on it. We'll see you guys in my next video, which will be, I think, for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't know, but I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.